Steelers are actually 3.5-point home underdogs in this one, but that's definitely one we're going to want to pay attention to, see where the sharp money is going. And then the Colts are once again without their starting quarterback, but they're still double-digit favorites against Miami. So lots to dive into, and we'll see where our experts are putting their money. And like I said, I got more experts in case you don't trust the guy with the mustache, right? We've got Edward Egros joining us from Dallas. What's up, Ed? And then we've got the guy that creates these lines so we can really get insight into the way everything is moving and the decisions behind those lines in FanDuel's John Sheeran. What's up, John? Good morning.
Hey,
all
Danny.
right, guys, I'm excited. Let's jump right into this thing. Mark, are you ready to get going?
It's a crazy week. A lot of different crazy spreads that we're going to talk about. And, of course, I am ready to hopefully help some people make some money.
We love money. Bring in all the cash. Okay, so here's the deal. Let's start right now in Kansas City at Tennessee. We talked about it. Patrick Mahomes, he's back. I'm sure Chiefs fans are super excited to see him back. But can they cover this number?
I look at the number, and that 5 number, it's becoming more and more common, but 5.5 is a number now that seems to be, it's still a little awkward to me when you look at it, right? Because you either want it to be up at a touchdown if you're going to take the underdog, or you want to be down closer to 3.5 or 4 points. But with Pat Mahomes coming back, I get the sense that's going to mean a lot of good things in the passing game for guys like Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, even for Shady McCoy, because if you look over the past few weeks, when Matt Moore has been under center, it's an opportunity for defenses to stack the box a little bit more and make life difficult on the run game for the Chiefs. So maybe now with Patrick Mahomes coming back into the fold, the Titans have been so hot and cold this season, but I would buy that hook so you have 5 points, and then I would say, yes, the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes are going to come back. They're going to show you what that offense is all about. I think they can cover that 5.5.
And for the Titans, cornerback Malcolm Butler placed on IR. He's not in this one. Not good news there. But you know what? Ryan Tannehill has really played pretty well. Thrown 6 touchdown passes in his first 3 starts, but they're not in that red zone quite enough. Ed, what do you think? Can they cover this number?
Well, for at least this one game, you can trust the stash. I believe in Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Big question for me is how much does Pat Mahomes really change this number? How much better will this offense be with him? And one study that I found that uses the same data, the same coding that I do, says that Pat Mahomes is roughly 188% better than a replacement level quarterback, which is what the Chiefs had before. So if the Chiefs are going to score roughly 21 against the Titans, now you can expect something in the upper 30s, maybe even 40 points. I do think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I think the Titans, for the most part, will be able to keep up. But Corey Davis is doubtful. Delaney Walker is out again. So I have the Chiefs covering in what promises to be a high-scoring affair.
Well, let's get John's take, because he is the guy, of course, that's setting this line. And you talked about it being at 5.5 and that being maybe one of those that...
Odd line. It's just
odd
a weird
line.
spot.
So, John, talk to me.
We opened it actually at 3.5, Lisa, or Danny, sorry. So used to seeing Lisa on a Thursday, on a Friday even. All of the money's been for Kansas. We opened at 3.5, like I said, Danny, all the way up to 5.5. It's just way the money, really. We can't get any real action on Tennessee. It doesn't really surprise me. 80% of the money line also for the Chiefs. The total is up from 48.5, up a point to 49.5, Danny. 55% of the money, interestingly, at that number is actually for the under. So I don't see that number getting any bigger. I think the key here is Mahomes coming back. I think he's had those couple of rest weeks. I really liked him very early in the game, Danny, to kick out to a strong start. I thought his lack of mobility before the injury was actually hurting Kansas a little bit. So if I was playing this game, I'd actually play them in the first half. I think the spread's 3.5 right now, almost 3-to-1 ratio in that market for the Chiefs on that minus 3.5. I think that's the way I'd attack this game.
Great stuff, John. All right, I want to switch gears here because I want to talk about the Ravens at Cincinnati, because Baltimore's favored by 10.5 in this one, as you can see right here. If they go on to 7-2, Mark, the last time they did that, they won a Super Bowl. It was back in 2012. And the winless Bengals, can they? I mean, they're still. I don't know if you want to call it a moral victory, but is there something to be said about a fight to maybe close that gap in that line?
Certainly. Let me start with your Super Bowl statement. I don't see the Ravens. We'll talk Super Bowls later. I don't see the Ravens winning a Super Bowl this year. But yes, they are the much better team, not only on paper, but the number there reflects that coming into the game against the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals are an 0-8 team, right? That's what they're Hey, you are what your record says you are, but I don't think they are an 0-8 team. They've actually covered in their last 4, and I could see them with a backdoor cover in this one too. The big X factor, obviously, is Finley under center.
Exactly. Ryan Finley making his first start at quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you never know. What are you going to get out of a young starting quarterback in a situation like this?
Defense.
And he might come out and light it up, right? Be really consistent, step out, throw a couple of touchdowns, keep the game plan moderate so that he doesn't get exposed against a great Ravens defense. So for me, I actually will take the plus 10.5. Remember, these teams played in week 6, and in fact, Cincinnati did cover the line that week.
Oh, well, good stuff. Hey, Ed, do you agree or disagree with the stash?
No!
I'm disagreeing with the stash. You might as well shave it now. You had your one and done, and now we got to move on here. No, I don't trust Cincinnati in this game at all. I do believe that they are a winless team for a reason, and also in part because I don't think it's necessarily Andy Dalton's fault. I think it's everything around him. And I don't know how switching to a rookie quarterback in Ryan Finley is really going to change very much, especially against a Baltimore defense that's starting to have a bit of an uptick. Marcus Peters has made a significant impact on this defense. All of a sudden, they're a good bit better. Also, too, with Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, outstanding. He can be able to score. Ryan Finley, who are his weapons? That's the thing that I'm trying to figure out. I think the Bengals could be on shutout alert. And if that's the case, then I think Baltimore can score 14 at a minimum.
Well, guys, I'm curious to see how this one kind of...
And I know actually earlier in the week, Ed was talking about the over-under in that one as well. So you might want to look at the total there in that game because that Ravens defense...
He says low. I mean, that's what's
right.
so great about having him right here.
That's
You're
right.
saying under the total, huh?
Under. Way under. Way under.
Well,
Baltimore could score 30-34, but Cincinnati may not score at all. So I'm taking the under.
Well, let's talk about this next game that's happening at MetLife Stadium where both of these teams call it home, technically. Yeah, you're leaning back a little bit, Mark, and I think that's just because combined these two teams have lost 8 in a row. They both are...
So somebody's going to win.
Someone's got to win this
Can you
game,
imagine if you had a tie in this one?
Oh, my gosh. The line is at 2.5 points. Technically, the home team is the Jets. So the Giants are technically the road team in this one. But, I mean, does it really matter? They're both playing in their home stadium. So what do you think when you take a look at this one?
I said it before. When I look at this game, I just think the Giants are a better football team. Both teams, not even get this correct, are awful. But I think the Giants are a better football team. And I say that because if I go to the skill positions, maybe we start at the running back position. I think Saquon, much healthier than he was, say, a month ago when he wasn't even on the field for the Giants. And Le'Veon Bell, although he's going to play, is a little bit dinged up. Then you go to the quarterback position. Right now, I would rather have Daniel Jones under center than I would want to have Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has looked terrible in the last 4 or 5 weeks since coming back from the mono. So even at the wide receiver position, you go Robbie Anderson or you take Golden Tate. That's probably a wash right there between those two. So I will say I think the Giants have shown flashes of what they can do. Have they done a complete football game? No, but I think they can win this game and cover that number of 2.5.
Ed, when we did the show on Friday, we weren't sure if Le'Veon Bell was going to play. He has said that he is going to. So does that impact at all your thoughts on this line here?
Not at all, to be honest. I think it matters more the offensive line health as far as a rushing attack is concerned than anything else. And, yes, I do believe that there are playmakers for the Giants that could make this game close. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is one of them. He's someone who I'm projecting very high for this weekend. Certainly a couple of receivers for the Giants that makes sense. But when it comes to the Jets, I think all those really, really awful performances are kind of out of the way now. I do trust Sam Darnold more than Daniel Jones. I trust a second-year quarterback over a first-year quarterback. When both of them have had poor performances this year, I look at the whole situation and I go, the Giants are just not a good football team right now. Real big questions defensively. For the Jets, yeah, they've had some bad problems as well, and especially for last week against Miami, I understand it. But I'm taking the Jets as an outright winner here. I think Sam Darnold can have a bounce-back game.
Guys, what's really fun about this is that John is actually right across the street, right, at the FanDuel Sportsbook in the Meadowlands. You're across the street from all this action, and usually we talk to you about what are the home bettors thinking and where's the money going from the fans in the building. But now they're both betting on the same game. What are you seeing over there at the FanDuel Sportsbook?
I'm surprised, Danny. It's pretty quiet in here compared to what I would have expected. They're all outside having their barbecues. It's freezing here in New York, I can tell you. I'm really surprised none of them have come into the warmth here and decided to get their bets down early. A very, very interesting game, though, Danny. This game happens only once every 4 years, as we know. 2015, the last time that these two have met in a competitive NFL game. So it's really sparked the interest here in New Jersey in the game. I'm seeing way more volume on this game than almost any other game on the entire slate. We spoke about it on Friday, where 80% of the money was for the Giants at 2.5. That line's been very solid, by the way. Really not moved at all from 2.5 all week. It has leveled out, though. It's now just about 60% of the money on the New York Giants so far. The total is actually up 2 points from 42.5 to the 44.5 that you see now, and 80% of the money, Danny, there is for the over. So people expecting a lot of points there. I'm kind of surprised by Ed's take on the defense. I think New York's defensive weakness is really in the secondary and pass defense. I'm not sure Sam Darnold is A, good enough, or B, has the weapons to be able to take advantage of that situation. Nonetheless, all the bettors think that the overs is the right move in this game as well.
Great stuff. Great insight, John. Appreciate that. I want to move on now to the biggest spread of the week. Taking a look at the Falcons going to New Orleans to take on Drew Brees, who's been red hot, and the Saints. I mean, they're both coming off a bye. The Falcons, this could be their 7th loss in a row, and they haven't done that since 2003. I'm going to mix things up here, Mark. I'm actually going to go to Ed first out there in Dallas. Ed, what do you think about this line?
Well, I know I talked about Pat Mahomes having a roughly 188% better overall performance than a replacement level quarterback. I'm not sure Matt Ryan's return really moves the needle for me quite like Pat Mahomes' return does. Saints defense, yes, it's been volatile, but after a rough start, they've really settled down. Just a matter of if Drew Brees can outscore the Falcons, and to me, I think he can, even with missing so many games. Brees is near the top of the charts in completion percentage over expected. Saints offense 9th in EPA, 8th in passing EPA. Brees should help that even more, and I think the Saints can cover this rather large spread. And again, another high-scoring affair.
I was going to say, just taking a look at that total, 51.5. Would you go over that then?
I would. I think Drew Brees is capable of a lot of points here. I mean, at least 30, 36, 37, something like that. Michael Thomas, I think, is going to be the guy who has a huge game. Alvin Kamara, he will be relied upon some, but I think Michael Thomas is going to be the real guy who's going to really make that offense go.
Mark, I'm going to start with the total with you because he does think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. What do you think with Matt Ryan coming back?
I agree with that, and the reason is because Matt Ryan has been a top 3 passing yards quarterback so far this season. He's also top 3 in touchdowns thrown, but he is also top 3 in interceptions thrown. So I do see a lot of points coming out of this game, and I say that because I think Atlanta's going to be able to keep up. I agree they're not going to win the game, and so we know that it will be a 7th straight loss for the Falcons. They're not going to win the game, especially playing in a division game there inside Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
Yeah.
But I think they keep pace in this one, and I also think this is a classic case, Danny, of a backdoor cover right here, right? The Saints are going to be out in front by, say, 14, 17 points, and Atlanta's going to continue to try and pass their way back into this game. I could see in the 4th quarter them narrowing it to even, a 9-point final margin between the two teams. So I would actually take the Falcons and the plus points. It is a division matchup, and that makes a difference for me.
Right. And, John, why did you make this one be the biggest spread of the week? What was it particularly about this game? And then where is the sharp money going in this one?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We opened at 12.5, Danny. It initially actually ticked down towards Atlanta, went to 11.5, but then a very, very sharp, strong move for the Saints took it back up to where it sits now at 13.5. We spoke about this game on Friday, Danny. I expected a huge liability on the Saints. Couldn't see anybody looking to bet the Atlanta Falcons. The record says 1-7. That's where they look to be. Defensively, really struggling. And I think there's a decent case that the Saints are the best team in football. That said, on the spread, the market is actually, we've only taken about 55% of the money on the New Orleans Saints, which kind of really worries me. Normally you see a big favourite like this, you see all of the public coming for the Saints, like the guys have touched on. Drew Brees now starting to settle in after that injury, and it's very, very surprising and pretty worrying if you're thinking about betting the Saints. I would have a second think about it just based on that. The guys touched on the total, up to 51.5 now. 80% of the money is for the over. That's kind of a spot I'm happy enough to be in, Danny. It's a big total for me, and I think I do see the Falcons potentially struggling against what I think is one of the best defenses all around in football. So I like it to go under, actually, and I'm worried about the Saints given the amount of money I've seen for Atlanta in this market.
Well, 2 good quarterbacks in that game, and there's 2 fairly decent quarterbacks in this one, depending who you're talking to. You're not Dave, so you're not on the Baker Mayfield.
You're being generous.
I am being a little generous. But they're both from the same NFL draft class in 2018. But Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Browns favorite at home at 2.5 points. Mark, what do you think?
Who have the Bills really beaten, right? They're 6-2 on the season, but they haven't beaten a ton of great teams. In fact, most of the teams, the wins that they have had have come against teams that are out of the playoff picture or sub-500 teams. So now they have an opportunity to go against a Cleveland team that I look at that has a ton of talent. I think they commit to the run, maybe even some Kareem Hunt, who is back in the fold now for the Browns. I see Baker Mayfield finally getting things going. They're going to take some shots downfield. So I also like the total in this one. I actually think it could go over. I know Ed doesn't really like that call, though.
Ed, talk to me. You don't like him going over on the total. Why is that?
I don't like it at all because I will respectfully disagree with you, Danny, in terms of Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield.
Well, you're not Dave.
Both guys have not. Well, no, and there's good reason for that. But I just don't trust either quarterback in this situation. I don't think either of them have performed very well. In part because I think when it comes to Baker Mayfield, first of all, pass block win rate for his offensive line ranks in the middle of the pack. And they're also committing a lot of penalties this offensive line. So Baker Mayfield is having to convert a lot of second and longs, third and longs, and that's really, really tough for a second-year quarterback to have to handle a situation like that. As for Buffalo, Josh Allen ranks 8th from the bottom in depth-adjusted accuracy percentage, lower depth-adjusted when it comes to the comparison with Baker Mayfield. A lot of question marks when it comes to his deep throws and perhaps overall decision-making. So first off, I'm taking the under, but I do trust Buffalo a little bit more in this situation because of the defense. So I have Buffalo as an outright win.
I want to head out to John at the FanDuel Sportsbook because this is a pretty tight line, and I know that there are a lot of Bills fans in that Meadowlands area. I went to school out there, so I know that there's some Bills faithful, Bills Mafia out in that area. Do you see more money rolling in for them?
Not really, Danny. 75% of the money's been for the Cleveland Browns.
Wow.
Actually really surprises me, the volume in this game overall. Weaver must have released the clasp on his pocketbook as, like, there's huge interest here, massive stakes on the Browns. And it had me looking at it and thinking about why is there so much interest here? You've got one team 6-2, the other team 2-6. Obviously, both having their struggles. I think strength of schedule is actually the secret here, Danny. I've looked at the last 6 games that the Browns have played. It's the Rams, the Ravens, the Niners, the Seahawks, the Patriots, and a bad loss against Denver, albeit a tough place to go last week. I think when you compare that to the games that the Bills have had, I think it's clear that Cleveland have had a much tougher stretch than Buffalo. And I think for us right now at 2.5 to make these teams pretty much the same ability might be a little bit incorrect. And as I look at that strength of schedule, I lean pretty heavily towards the Browns, having looked at that, and I think that's the key to the game here.
Let's zero in on the NFC North, shall we? Because Detroit is playing in Chicago, and this one just got a little bit more interesting this morning because Matthew Stafford was officially ruled out. So there was a big change in this line. So, John, I'm actually going to head right back out to you to tell me what's been going on out there at the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Yeah, I think we've got to eat a bit of humble pie here. I think we've got this wrong, Danny. I think we all fully expected Stafford to play. The line was 2.5. Anybody who bet yesterday on the Bears and the spreads, or even bet the under in the total, are in really strong position with closing line value now. Stafford was ruled out within the last hour. Now we've got Jeff Driscoll coming in. He's got a 60% completion rate in Cincinnati in the games, and I think a 6 touchdown to 2 interception ratio. But I had a quick look at those games, and they all tended to be a lot of garbage time, a lot of yards when the games were already over. So I'd be really worried about it. That said, the Bears have really struggled offensively, and we ticked this actually up to 7 initially, and we saw some sharp play on the Lions on the plus there, so I had to come down underneath that key number at 7. So a very interesting one to see if Chicago will be able to take advantage offensively, but I think that continues to be the worry. We spoke about it on Friday. The total was 41.5, Danny, down 3 points as a result of Stafford being out. Like we said, offensive struggles in the red zones. I think these are ranked 17 and 18 in the league. So big concerns about where the points are going to come from here. Yeah,
and we're talking about the quarterback on Detroit's side there, but even Mitchell Trubisky for the Bears, it's just struggle city all around. So let's key in on that, just that total there, and then we'll talk more about the line there. But do you actually think they can go over, Mark?
I do not. I do not. And the reason I say that is because, well, first of all, you're giving Mitchell Trubisky 6.5
there's a lot of faith in him.
Actually, I should say he and the Bears are giving away 6.5 points in the game today. And obviously that's because Matthew Stafford is not going to play. But you look at what's going to happen to this Lions offense. A guy like Kenny Golladay, who's been really good over the last couple of weeks, because Stafford has been slinging the ball all over the yard because he hasn't had anyone to turn around to, a.k.a. Kerryon Johnson, to hand the ball off to. So now we're going to see Ty Johnson and Jeff Driscoll running this Detroit Lions offense. It spells for disaster. I think we might have a 7-6 game when all's said and done.
Man, what a boring football game if that actually happens, huh, Ed? Get in here. Do you agree or disagree with Mark?
I'm there as far as the under total's concerned.
Right.
Jeff Driscoll's a real concern for me in place of Matthew Stafford. Sheeran touched upon it. 60% completion rate, that's a little bit troubling, especially for a backup quarterback in garbage time, because you want to throw short, you want to throw something safe, and it should be more like what we saw from Gardner Minshew when he came on in relief work, where it was more like 70 to 80% in terms of completion rate. So the fact that it's 60 in garbage time, huge concern. Total QBR roughly 30. That's not good. Mitch Trubisky, we've detailed the problems all week long as far as he's concerned. David Montgomery may be relied upon a good bit more. He's been playing a little bit better over the last few weeks. And so Chicago may win this game with a ground attack, but that means Detroit should cover 6.5. So I've got Detroit at plus 6.5 in an under, and I would parlay it.
Oh, interesting. I like that he threw that in there.
And say this about Driscoll and the Lions offense. Yeah. The fact that they're going against the Bears, a very good defense, is what makes it so tough when you're looking at that total, right? If they were going against the Jets or maybe the Giants, it's a totally different story.
Right.
But against that Bears defense, at home, it's going to be a tough day for the Lions.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to switch gears now to Arizona at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is favored at home, as you see there, by 5.5 points. They actually do have the league best rushing defense, which I was really surprised to find out. And David Johnson is back in the Cardinals lineup. So can they run against that Bucs defense? I'm actually not going to go to you first. Ed, talk to me.
Well, first off, be careful when you're looking at rush defense, because it tends to be pretty volatile, depends on situation. If, say, you're going up against an offense that passes a good bit more, then, yeah, your rush defense is going to be really good. So just be careful about, sort of emphasizing that one a little bit too much. As for this game itself, I think it's kind of frightening because Jameis Winston is really, really volatile. The Kingsbury offense has been billed as one that could score in bunches, and they should be able to against a weaker Tampa Bay secondary. I'm leaning the over here as a pick because I do trust Kyler Murray. I think he can consistently score about 28 to 31 points against a defense like Tampa Bay. But as for Jameis Winston, yeah, he could probably match it, but will he? Something tends to happen with him every single time when it comes to a fumble, an untimely interception, too many turnover-worthy throws. And so I think Arizona can cover the spread. I think Tampa Bay should still win this game outright, but Jameis Winston is very, very volatile. So I have to take a deep breath before I, put some money down for this one.
He doesn't seem like he's too keen on betting this game. What about you?
I agree. The total is probably the play here in this game, and I say that because both of these offenses can score, and I know Ed was talking about the fact that the Buccaneers defense, you talk about the numbers, and they're really good against the run, but that's probably because when they play teams, their pass defense is horrible when it comes to rankings in the bottom 5, in fact, in the NFL. So I agree. I think Arizona goes out there. They get the return of David Johnson, so they have a great guy to turn around and hand the ball off to. Kyler Murray, his ability to scramble and keep plays alive will come into play in this one as well. And then if he gets it out onto the perimeter for Christian Kirk or opportunities for the veteran Larry Fitzgerald, this is a high-scoring game. I see both teams getting 24, 25 points or more, so the total is probably where you want to look in this game.
Hey, John, I want to go out to you at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Where is the sharp money going on this game in particular?
Yeah, this is a really interesting game, I think, from a betting perspective, at least with the information I have, Danny. This is a game where I think, like the guys touched on, there's so much volatility, particularly with Jameis Winston. You really don't know what sort of Tampa Bay side you're going to get from week to week. And I looked at this market entirely. We opened it, actually, the spread at 6.5. The initial sharp play was all for Arizona, taking it down to 4.5. In the last hour, that's ticked up to 5.5, it has to be said. But I looked at the money line in this market, plus 205 80% of the money, and it's not an insignificant amount of money, is for the Road Cardinals here. And then the other one that I thought was really interesting was the total. We actually had this total much higher at 54.5, all the way down to 51.5, with huge interest in the over at 51.5. I don't think that'll last until kickoff, Danny. And the money is telling me here that Arizona are the right side in a game where it's probably a game where people struggle to have a strong opinion. So I would definitely pay a lot of attention to the money that we've seen here in New Jersey, mainly for the Arizona Cardinals and definitely for the over.
I hope you, our viewers, have been paying attention, because this has been some great information so far on this show from our betting experts. And, of course, the guy that creates all these lines in John Sheeran. So if you want to get in on this action, you know, make it rain a little bit, win all the money, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's free, right? You want to win some money. All you got to do is sign up for an account with the promo code MOREWAYS25. You get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit plus a free $25 bet. Just use that promo code MOREWAYS25. Well, we ran through all the early games, and of course, we're going to talk about the late ones as well, but we're going to have some prop bets coming up after the break for those early games before we dive right into those late games, right? Stick with us. We want to make you some money. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
They say less is more, but we believe more is more. That's why we built FanDuel Sportsbook with more ways to bet, more ways to fund your account, more ways to cash in, and more ways to cash out, with payouts delivered straight to your bank account in as little as 48 hours. You want more? You got it. Join today and get a risk-free bet worth up to $500. FanDuel Sportsbook, more ways to win.
Sometimes a trip to the casino is not in the cards.
You have gas, there's tolls, there's traffic, there's parking. And what is a resort fee? I think everybody wants to know what a resort fee is. I'd rather just stay and play at home.
With Betfair Casino, you can play anywhere in New Jersey. No long drives, no hassle.
You just can't beat the convenience.
I've downloaded the app. It's fun, it's quick, I can play anywhere in New Jersey.
Playing on Betfair Casino, I save on tolls, I save on time. It's great.
With over 400 casino games, you could be playing your favorite games in 3 simple steps. Step 1. Sign up at betfaircasino.com and get $10 free for joining. Step 2. Make your first deposit and we'll match it up to $2,500. Step 3. Join the thousands in New Jersey playing for real money online.
It doesn't matter, how much we're betting. It's just the excitement of it. The adrenaline starts to flow.
Join the fun today at betfaircasino.com. Try it free.
Do you want to bet the next race and don't have a TVG account? Get the TVG mobile app and sign up. It's fun, easy, and it's TVG. I'll show you how it works. When you bet the horse that wins, you win money too. With the TVG app, select your horse, bet type, and wager amount. Place your bet and watch the race live. Download the app and sign up now, or go to TVG.com. Join now and get a risk-free bet up to $200. TVG, your best bet.
Welcome back to More Ways to Win. We also want to make sure that your fantasy game is better than anybody else's. And to get your fantasy lineup set up straight, we've got JJ Zacharyson giving you his best value wide receivers. Lisa Kearney caught up with him.
My number 3 value this week is Marquise Hollywood Brown. He's only priced at $5,300 because he's coming off of that injury. I know he didn't perform all that well against New England last week, but that's a tough matchup. He's seen at least 17% of Baltimore's targets in every single game played this year. We know he's a big play threat, and Cincinnati has allowed the second highest yards per attempt this season, so I like Marquise Brown at his price point. My number 2 value wide receiver, how about DJ Moore? Over the last month, he's seen at least 24% of Carolina's targets in every single game. This is a Packers secondary that's allowed the 7th highest yards per attempt rate this season. And Carolina, generally a fairly run-heavy team, they might not be able to be as run-heavy going to Green Bay and trailing in that game. So DJ Moore could see even more volume. So I like him given that he's priced still under $6,000. My number 1 value wide receiver, though, this week, Christian Kirk. Tampa Bay has allowed the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers this year, and specifically, they've seen 34% of their targets against them go to slot wide receivers. That's one of the highest rates in the league. Christian Kirk has played in the slot on 74% of his snaps, so I love this matchup for Christian Kirk. It's a high over-under game. He should definitely be in your fantasy lineup.
Awesome stuff, JJ. Make sure you take that information. Make your fantasy lineup awesome and better than all your friends, right? Compete. FanDuel.com. That's where you can check it out. And Mark, now let's talk some prop bets, shall we?
We love prop bets.
And I want to ask you specifically, who do you think is going to be the first player to score in these early games? You can see Saquon Barkley is up there on that list. You got Lev Bell on there. And then, Ed, you talked about Mike Thomas. He's on there as well, but I'm going to start with Mark.
There's actually a lot of great company when you look at that list right there. A lot of talent that will probably get in the end zone in the morning games. But I'm going to zero in at plus 2,300 on Mark Ingram. I expect the Ravens to march the ball all the way down the field. You're going to see a lot of Lamar Jackson keeping the sticks moving in this game. And I think that eventually they get all the way down in the red zone. And that's a great opportunity for Mark Ingram to get in first. And look at those numbers. I would say Mark Ingram first, but I also like Alvin Kamara returning for New Orleans because we said that's going to be a high-scoring game against the Falcons.
Yeah, they're going to want to get him involved, but will they get him involved early? Ed, what do you think?
Well, the game I'm looking at would be the Saints and Falcons. I'm looking for the game that's the highest to have the most number of points in terms of a highest probability to score the most points. Saints-Falcons is the game for me. So then I look at the players there. Who's going to win the coin toss? Who's going to drive down the field? I think some of the Falcons players may have some higher value, but to me, I just think that this is going to be Michael Thomas's coming out party, so he's going to be my guy here.
Hey, John, is Saquon the favorite just because you're over there in the Meadowlands, or talk to me about this one?
No, and he's actually, I just had a look, Danny. He's the one that we've taken all the money on. I don't like running backs in this situation. Yes, you can get a big pass and land on the goal line somewhere, and the running back pounds it in. So I tend to look for the receivers. I want one big play. Like you said, there's so much volatility. Ed touched on it. Who wins the coin toss is going to be a big part of who possesses the football first, obviously. So I want, who do I want? I want Mike Evans. Plus 24.50, I believe, for Tampa Bay. Let's get Jameis Winston with a big air ball down the field. Mike Evans to catch it and get in for a touchdown, Danny.
Good stuff. I love it. Good opinions, and they're all different. Love when that happens, right? All right, let's give you another prop bet because the guy's back. Patrick Mahomes, the reigning MVP. He is back under center for the Chiefs. 302.5 passing yards for him, over or under?
I'm actually going to go under, and I think the reason for that is because, yes, he's coming back, but I feel like it's going to take a little bit of time to acclimate, number one. But number two, the Titans have a pretty decent defense, middle-of-the-road defense when it comes to defending the pass. So I see Patrick Mahomes having a great game. In fact, I'd probably go out on a limb and say he will have 3 touchdown passes, but I don't think he's going to hit on those long bombs like he does most often.
Boom.
Wow, there's some booms. And Ed, what do you think?
Sounds like Batman or something.
Right? Someone's flying in here.
Yeah, something.
Take cover.
Yeah, right. That's a really good number. It's a really good number, in large part because Pat Mahomes is my number 3 projected quarterback for the weekend, so he should expect to perform very well. He has his full complement of weapons. That's big, too. But the thing is, the Titans' pass defense, in terms of success rate, ranks 17th in football. Against the run, they're 3rd. So Pat Mahomes may have to pass a little bit more than, say, you would normally see coming off of injury, coming back from an absence. So I trust him. I don't think it's going to go too much more than 302.5. It might be quite literally 305, but I trust him. I'm going over.
Well, since you're all warmed up, Ed, I'm going to give you the next one. Tyreek Hill, 81.5 yards for him. Talk to me. Over or under? Receiving yards for Tyreek Hill.
I think he's going to be the number 1 target for this Chiefs offense, and he's going to be a top 5 receiver overall, so I'm taking the over.
Mark?
I agree with you. I think Tyreek Hill goes over 100 yards, so I think it's a really safe play to bet that he's going to go over 81 yards in this one. Mahomes is going to look at him early and often. He could have a 50 or more yard reception with ease, so you got to take over.
All right, let's move on now and take a look at the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. 284.5 rushing plus receiving yards. Mark, you take this one first.
I say under here because I see it about 250 total yards for Lamar Jackson. And the reason is because Baltimore's going to get out into a lead in this game, and then the Bengals are going to continue to struggle to try and get back into the game at all. So I see a lot of turning around and handing it off to Mark Ingram in this one. I'll say under here.
Ed?
Well, you can certainly hand it off to Mark Ingram, or Jackson could just keep it himself, and I think that's probably what's going to happen. Yeah, they're going to run a heck of a lot because they're going to jump out to a huge lead, but that could include Jackson getting some design runs himself, fake handoffs, things like that. I think he's going to be the number 1 quarterback this weekend, more than 300 all-purpose yards. I'm taking the over.
Okay, let's take a look at Marquise Brown now. His longest reception, 27.5 yards. Mark, I'll start with you.
I'll take over for Hollywood Brown. I think, yes, because the run game is so good for the Ravens, they are going to use some play action, and that's going to open up for a couple of shots over the top. So to go, say, over a 30-yard reception, 27.5 yards, I like that. I would go over here.
Ed's nodding. You agree?
Shout out to my guy, JJ Jackareeson, DFS expert. He and I, great minds think alike. I think that longest reception is going to be over 27.5. Keep in mind, because I think Baltimore wants to make quick work of this game, there may be a couple of deep bombs just so that Lamar Jackson can work on that passing game a little bit more, quote-unquote, work on it. But I expect a deep ball for him. I'm taking the over.
Well, John said bettors seem to think Saquon Barkley could possibly score first in these early games. But let's talk total yards here. 116.5 rushing plus receiving yards. Ed?
116.5 receiving. I'd probably go over there. I feel pretty safe about that one.
You're feeling good about him having a good game facing the other home team in that stadium. Mark, what do you think?
I think there's no question that Saquon can go over that number. We've seen in his return over the last couple of weeks that the receiving yards has certainly had an uptick. He's a bit of a safety blanket for Daniel Jones. And let me get this clear, Ed. So all I have to do is be in agreement with you and JJ, and I'm a great mind?
Yes, that's all it takes.
Gotcha.
Not much more than that. You know, it's a low bar. It's a low bar to get there.
That's funny. Well, people are giving this guy a low bar, Sam Darnold, unfortunately for him, right? 38.5 as his longest completion. Mark, talk to me.
I just don't see it. I remember the one shot against Dallas about a month ago when he went over the top in his return and he hooked up with Robbie Anderson. That thing was like a unicorn. Where did it go?
Right.
I have never seen that since that game, and I don't think it comes today. I think it's a lot of short stuff for Darnold in this one, so I'll take under here.
Like I said, the bar is low. Ed, talk to me.
You know what? I'm going to go with the over here because I think he's going to have exactly one deep ball that puts it at the over, whereas everything else is going to be short, deke, and dunks. But look, Jamison Crowder, Robbie Anderson, there are receivers who are capable of getting that over for Sam Darnold. I wouldn't necessarily buy that the receiving core is pure garbage for the Jets. I think there's actual talent there. We just haven't seen it. We just haven't seen what they're capable of. I'm going to take the over.
Let's move on to that Atlanta-New Orleans game. He's got his quarterback back, so how good is Julio Jones going to do? 87.5 receiving yards for him. Mark, over or under that?
This is definitely over. I think we all agree this is going to be a high-scoring affair between the Falcons and the Saints. With Matt Ryan, who averages over 300 yards passing per game, why wouldn't he continue to feed Julio Jones, who's an absolute beast, and on one of my fantasy teams? Over.
Oh, yeah, you really want him to rack up those points. Ed?
Julio Jones is my number 3 projected receiver for this weekend. I am not expecting him to have too many receptions. When it comes to buying in bulk, I would actually go with the under there, but I think he will be the deep threat here, and I expect him to have maybe 3 or 4 enormous chunk plays that gets him to the over.
Well, let's talk about Drew Brees, shall we? He's pretty impressive, but will he throw an interception? Yes is plus 104. No is minus 132. Ed, coming to you first.
I think the thing with Drew Brees is he's throwing a lot of shorter passes, and when he does throw the deep balls, typically in one-on-one coverage or a receiver who's insanely wide open. He is great in terms of managing the game and throwing about as few turnover-worthy throws as any quarterback in football. He's my number 2 projected guy. I think he has more than 300 passing yards, and I don't think he gets there if he's throwing an interception. I'm saying no.
Okay, Mark?
Yep, I agree with that. I think Drew Brees will have a really clean game today against the Falcons. And look at the Falcons' defense. It is absolutely awful so far this season. You bring back Alvin Kamara back into the fold. That means more touches for him, both in the run game and that little bubble screen game. So I like a safe game plan for Drew Brees. He does have a lot of yards in this one, but he doesn't throw a pick.
Well, y'all were haters when I said that there was 2 good, decently okay quarterbacks, right, in this Cleveland and Bills game. So let's talk about the Bills quarterback and Josh Allen. 206.5 passing yards for him. Over or under, Mark?
I'm going to go over. I don't think he has a huge game. I like Cleveland in this game, but as I said earlier in the show, I think I see some points coming in this game because Josh Allen loves to turn around and hand the ball off, but he will take some shots and try and go up and over the top. He connects on one of those. You're going to get a chunk of passing yards, and we know he can run the ball too, so I'll go over here. It's a low number.
I like to be an optimist. Ed?
That look you gave me, Danny, made me very uncomfortable. It just like pierced through into my camera all the way.
These poor guys, they're not that bad. I mean, they're as bad, and they're not all the way there.
Well, they're in the National Football League. They're not that terrible,
well,
obviously, but we're talking in comparison to other quarterbacks
True.
in the NFL. I can't go out there and perform like Josh Allen does. I know that. But, no, I'm taking the under. No, it's him.
Look at his face. No way. All right, let's move on now to Odell Beckham Jr. And his is set at 62.5 receiving yards for him. Let's go with Mark first.
The Browns have been very clear that they want to take some more down the field shots, and in particular get the ball to Odell Beckham more. I think this is the game, and he could actually get this in one pass play because Odell's that type of player. He can catch it just 10 yards right outside the numbers, and then he can break a long one. We've seen it a couple of times this season with the Browns. I think 62.5 is pretty low. I would go over here.
All right, Ed?
I am going under here in large part because I do trust that defense to cover Odell Beckham Jr. It's going to be the other receivers who need to perform well and then open things up for Beckham. I don't see that happening. I'm not sure if Beckham gets more than 2 catches in a game like this. I'm taking the under.
All right, good stuff, guys. That was fun, right? It's always fun to go over all the different prop bets, and you can get in on that action as well. All you got to do is download that FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's free. Hello. It's free. Plus, it's a way that you can win some money. Yeah, sign me up. Sign yourself up. All you got to do is use that promo code MOREWAYS25. You'll get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit, plus a free $25 bet. Just got to use that promo code MOREWAYS25. Now I want to talk about 2 of the hottest teams in football right now, the Rams and the Steelers. But the Steelers are home dogs here in this one. The Rams are coming off a bye and have had 2 weeks now, I guess, essentially to have this brilliant mind of Sean McVay plan for them. I'm curious, Mark, what do you think? Do you think that he'll have the recipe to beat the Steelers? I mean, it's loud in that stadium.
I am very confident in this pick.
Okay.
I love the Rams here at this situation at 3.5. I think even if you wanted to feel a little bit better about it, maybe you buy a point to take it under that field goal number. But 2 weeks to prepare for Sean McVay to go against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have had some bright moments this season, but they're not going to have them today. It's a good defense for the LA Rams. I know they're on the road, and that's why the number is smaller. I love the Rams in this situation. I gave it out as one of my best bets earlier in the week.
The 2 of them have combined to win 5 straight games here, so you know that they're both kind of rolling, Ed. What do you think?
I think the key to this game is how Jared Goff handles pressure. He's been getting a lot more of it this year than last year, and it's why he has not performed as well this year as last year, and why he hasn't been able to establish the play action, which I think really makes this offense go. What is the Steelers' defensive talent? It's Minkah Fitzpatrick. Certainly that's helped a lot. And it's also that line that could provide a lot of pressure. And so in terms of the total, I think it's right on the money. I almost wouldn't even touch it in a game like this. But in terms of the Rams' defense, I think they will be able to affect Mason Rudolph a good bit. Aaron Donald getting home, Jalen Ramsey covering any bombs thrown could make for a long day for Rudolph, where he may be trying to throw shorter passes that just will not move the sticks. And so I think Jared Goff with a couple of deep balls to Cooper Kupp will get the job done. I think the Rams can cover.
It's a good point bringing up the Rams defense. They have allowed just 10 points in back-to-back games. So good defense over there. John, you're over at the Sportsbook at the Meadowlands. You are the one that's creating this line and making the Steelers a home dog. Why the decision, Matt, and where's the money going?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Rams are a better football team. They have a better quarterback. They have a better coach. They definitely have a better coach. So I'm not surprised that the line is where it is at 3.5. I have to say at 3.5, about 80% of the money has been for the Rams. Money line's about 52% in favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the total, Danny, is down 45, down to 43.5, and 80% of the money's for the under there. Again, I think this game comes down to strength of schedules, and you think about, yes, they've won 5 combined, as you touched on, Danny. Those 2 Rams wins have come against really weak opposition, whereas the Steelers have beaten the Colts and the Chargers in their last 3 games. So I've been impressed by what Pittsburgh have been able to do, rescue the situation from a stage where when Ben was ruled out, we all thought that was the end of Pittsburgh for this year. They've come back strong, and we really like our position here. I love the fact that all the public, like Mark, love the Los Angeles Rams. We'll keep taking that money all day long at 3.5, Danny.
You know those are my guys, John, so it's not just Mark right here in L.A. We're in the L.A. studio. We've got that L.A. Rams pride going on in here. You see the blue, we're all in theme. All right, to move on now because Carolina is headed to Green Bay, and Cam Newton was officially ruled out for the rest of the season. Kyle Allen is the guy there for the Panthers. But Green Bay, man, they came to LA, just 50 total yards of offense in the first half. You know that they're going to want to change that back at home at Lambeau Field. The line here, Packers favorite at home, 4.5.
Speaking of great minds, follow me here, Danny.
Okay.
So if I told you you're starting a team and you're looking for a quarterback, would you take Jimmy G or would you take Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers.
Of course you would take Aaron Rodgers. So although he had a horrible game last week, I strike that up as an anomaly. Remember a couple of weeks ago when San Francisco and Carolina played and everyone was thinking this was going to be a close game? 51-13 was the final score. I see the Packers offense getting right back on track here in this game. I see a high-scoring affair, and defensively the Packers will key in on McCaffrey and limit what he does. I love the Packers in this spot.
Does he still have the stash? So you guys are like twins, Aaron Rodgers? Maybe that's what's going on. We're going with the stash here. Okay, Ed, talk to me. What do you think about this game?
Well, I'm not sure Aaron Rodgers is the elite quarterback that is being claimed here. And, of course, I can say this, Danny, being in Dallas, to where I'm not going to feel the wrath of Danny Kleppinger.
Yep, of course you don't think that. No faith in Green Bay whatsoever coming out of Ed.
No. See, what's funny, though, is that I do believe Green Bay is going to cover this game because I have less faith in Kyle Allen than I do Aaron Rodgers in this pass-forward offense. But here's the deal. I'm not expecting this to be some, offensive masterpiece where Aaron Rodgers is scoring 60. I think it's going to be a simpler game, to say the least. But look, Aaron Rodgers, 11th in total QBR, sack rate's fairly high, a lot of throwaways, and so, I think the Pack can cover, but I'm not expecting a lot of points out of them. Don't let recency bias fool you. Aaron Rodgers scoring 11 against the Chargers. A lot of other performances, I think, matter a little bit more, so expect them to get around, 24-27 and win this game.
Hey, John. Oh, yeah,
Danny,
go ahead.
This is also Kyle Allen's first start at Lambeau. Temperatures expected to be in the mid to high 30s in this one. That doesn't make very well for a good young quarterback.
Well, here's the deal. Ed's never on the Packers train. But, John, I am going to go out to you because I'm curious. Are bettors on the Packers train?
Bettors are always on the Packers train, Danny. Every week it's the same. They love Aaron Rodgers, love that offense. Came badly unstuck in Los Angeles last week. And now they get the Panthers at home, and when the public expect a bounce back. Danny, all of the sharp money here is for Carolina. We opened at 6.5, smashed down to 4.5, took all those numbers all the way down. Not critical points, but a big move nonetheless. Money line's the same. 60% of the money on the money line is for Green Bay, but that's all public money. All the sharp money was on Carolina. Took it from plus 215 down to plus 180, and the total's actually gone up from 46.5 to 48.5, with 75% of the money for the over. Danny, I love our spot here. I love everybody back in the Packers. I love the fact that everybody thinks it's bounce back. I think Carolina are built for exposing all of Green Bay's defensive frailties, and I expect Carolina to win outright in Green Bay, regardless of 35 degrees.
Good stuff. Interesting. Wow. Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. I love it when John brings that type of knowledge, both on the numbers and where the money is. But when he throws in a pick like that, he likes Carolina outright at Green Bay.
Guys, this is why we have so many awesome insights from so many different people, because, I mean, he is, at the end of the day, the guy that's making these lines, right?
Much smarter than me. I know. I do know that.
I want to move on. Miami is headed to, I'm assuming it's cold in Indianapolis, and the Colts are without their starting quarterback once again. And this line actually has changed a lot, because when we did this show on Friday, we weren't sure if Jacoby Brissett was going to play or not. It is officially, he's been ruled out of this game. So I'm actually going to head out to John first, because how has this changed at all, and how did you guys react when that news came out?
Danny, this might be the most complicated line move I've ever seen. So you're going to have to bear with me, and I might have to refer to my notes even.
Go for it.
We opened this line at 15.5, all the way down to 10.5. Then Brissett was ruled out, and we went back to 12.5. And then all the sharp money took it back to 10.5 anyway. So I'm not sure exactly what Jacoby Brissett is worth. I think, to be fair, probably not an awful lot in terms of the difference in the line since then. What I can tell you is that the public have gone from hating the Dolphins through the first 4 or 5 weeks to now absolutely loving them. They've been money makers for the last 4 weeks, covering and winning outright once. All of that money's being reinvested. Nearly 70% of the money at 10.5 is for Miami. People want them on the money line as well, about 60% of the money line there as well. I don't like this line. I think this line is too high still, and I think all those Dolphin bettors collect for a 5th week in a row, Danny.
I am going to emphasize what John just said. The Dolphins have covered in 4 straight. So, Mark, they did just get their first win, but can they cover again?
Well, part of the reason they have been able to cover, Danny, is the fact that you have Fitzmagic. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been able to come in, and he is an X-Factor veteran quarterback. Yeah, you're probably saying an X-Factor Fitzpatrick, but yes, he has the ability to be composed in the pocket, throw the ball out onto the perimeter, and make some plays when he needs to. It doesn't matter what team he's been on. He's shown that for the last 10 years in his career. So that's the reason the Dolphins have been covering these huge numbers and the reason that they got their first win. I think that continues here. Hoyer's going to throw some good passes, but he's also going to throw some picks, and the Colts will have to have their defense out on the field quite a bit.
Ed, is this line too big for you with Jacoby Brissett, or what do you think?
I think that line is way too big. Organizations tank, players do not. And the Miami Dolphins, the players have not been tanking. And it's that reason why they've been basically a covering machine lately. Ryan Fitzpatrick, ultimate feast or famine quarterback. He will throw 3 touchdowns for you or have a rough day moving the ball in general. For Indy, it was weird to see Quentin Nelson, the guard, get dominated like that last week. Certainly a good Steelers defensive line, but you wouldn't expect that to happen. Darius Leonard, the linebacker, he also had a poor performance. And I'm starting to think the duct tape that has kept the Colts together is starting to rip apart a little bit. And yeah, I trust Frank Reich. I think he's one of the great coaches in the NFL right now. And so I have Indy winning this game, but I think Miami can cover in large part because I think the Colts are starting to wear down a little bit, and especially if Jacoby Brissett isn't there at quarterback, that's another huge concern. T.Y. Hilton also not playing either. That's also significant.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to jump in on these games, make some money, download that FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm telling you, that's the place to be. It's free. Sign up for an account and use that promo code. Here it is, MOREWAYS25. Because if you do, you'll get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit plus a free $25 bet. Love free, right? Another way to make money. Just use the promo code MOREWAYS25. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. We got a big one. Vikings at Dallas on Sunday night, then Monday night, Seattle at San Francisco. Can the Seahawks give the 49ers their first loss of the season? Great stuff to talk about coming up here, so you don't want to miss that. And right now, TVG's Christina Blacker is going to give us a horse that's running in Churchill Downs that sports fans might be interested in.
That horse is named Spokane Eagle. He's a well-traveled 5-year-old who's been very popular at the claim box. That's racing's equivalent of the waiver wire. He's changed barns 5 times this year, but has been a consistent runner despite all the comings and goings. He's won 3 of his last 5 starts and hit the board in all 5 efforts. Most of that work has been right here in California, including this win at Del Mar in late August.
But it is still Spokane Eagle full of run out here, and they can't get to Spokane Eagle. Spokane Eagle wins it clear.
On Sunday, he'll get his first try at Churchill Downs, competing in race number 5. And for all our folks just across the state line in Indiana, fire up your TVG account and take a serious look at this runner. If you don't have a TVG account, it's a great time to get one. Sign up with the promo code FALL, and we'll give you a $200 risk-free bet. It really is that easy. Again, that's Spokane Eagle in Sunday's 5th at Churchill Downs. Post time is 3 p.m. Eastern right here on TVG.
They say less is more, but we believe more is more. That's why we built FanDuel Sportsbook with more ways to bet, more ways to fund your account, more ways to cash in, and more ways to cash out, with payouts delivered straight to your bank account in as little as 48 hours. You want more? You got it. Join today and get a risk-free bet worth up to $500. FanDuel Sportsbook, more ways to win.
Sometimes a trip to the casino is not in the cards.
You have gas, there's tolls, there's traffic, there's parking. And what is a resort fee? I think everybody wants to know what a resort fee is. I'd rather just stay and play at home.
With Betfair Casino, you can play anywhere in New Jersey. No long drives, no hassle.
You just can't beat the convenience.
I've downloaded the app. It's fun, it's quick. I can play anywhere in New Jersey.
Playing on Betfair Casino, I save on tolls, I save on time. It's great.
With over 400 casino games, you could be playing your favorite games in 3 simple steps. Step 1. Sign up at betfaircasino.com and get $10 free for joining. Step 2. Make your first deposit and we'll match it up to $2,500. Step 3. Join the thousands in New Jersey playing for real money online.
It doesn't matter, how much we're betting. It's just the excitement of it. The adrenaline starts to flow.
Join the fun today at betfaircasino.com. Try it free.
Do you want to bet the next race and don't have a TVG account? Get the TVG mobile app and sign up. It's fun, easy, and it's TVG. I'll show you how it works. When you bet the horse that wins, you win money too. With the TVG app, select your horse, bet type, and wager amount. Place your bet and watch the race live. Download the app and sign up now, or go to TVG.com.
Join now and get a risk-free bet up to $200. TVG, your best bet.
Welcome back to More Ways to Win. We've got some awesome night games to talk about now, and let's start with the Sunday night game, okay? Because it's the Vikings at Cowboys, and Cowboys are favored in this one, 3.5 points. And because you're standing here in LA and that guy, Ed, is over there in Dallas, Ed, I'm going to go to you first. You thought I was coming to you, huh? Ed, talk to me about this game. You're in Dallas. Can they cover this line?
Well, we got to get the Dallas guy in here first, because that's all I do is hear about the Cowboys around here. Yeah, exactly. Yes, I actually think it's going to be an evenly matched game. It could be the most exciting game of the weekend as far as I'm concerned. One team can account for the other team's strengths. Minnesota has great edge rushers, no doubt about it. Well, Dallas has amazing tackles. Vikings have several weapons to complement their ground attack, while the Cowboys rank 6th in football in passing EPA. So to me, it comes down to which quarterback do you trust more? And to me, I trust Dak Prescott more than Kirk Cousins. Depth-adjusted accuracy is better, fewer turnover-worthy throws, longer median depth of target. Dak is better at running the football, more durable in general. I think Dak himself covers the spread for the Cowboys.
Mark?
I agree with Ed on this one, which makes my mind great, of course, but I'm going to throw a little bit of a different spin on it. First, when you look at the run game between these two teams, Dalvin Cook and the Vikings average about 153 yards on the ground per game. Then you go to the other side and you have Ezekiel Elliott and the Cowboys rush attack, and that's about 146 points a game. Both teams are going to try and establish the run in this game. So then you go to the passing game, and again, yes, as Ed just said, I trust Dak a little more than I would trust Kirk Cousins because he's on the road. But another factor, no Adam Thielen on the perimeter today for the Vikings. So I think that makes it really tough in their passing game. He's their downfield threat. I take the Cowboys to cover this number.
John, this line was at 3 when we did the show on Friday. It's now at 3.5. What are you seeing over there at the sports book?
We opened at 2.5, Danny, up to 3.5 now for the Cowboys. About 65% of the money on the spread has been for Dallas. Interestingly, 65% of the money on the money line has been for Minnesota. I really like Minnesota here. I think the Dallas game would have been close here, the MetLife against the Giants on Monday night. They're coming off a short week. Yes, Minnesota are missing Adam Thielen, but I think running the football is going to be key here. I love Minnesota in this spot, and I think they win outright.
All right, good stuff. Let's go to Monday Night Football game, shall we? This NFC West divisional matchup here between the Seahawks and the 49ers. It is in San Francisco. The line said 49ers favored at home at 6.5 points. Do they stay unbeaten?
I think there's a good chance they can stay unbeaten in the game, but I love the Seahawks getting 6.5 points in this one. They get 2 more cracks. The Seahawks get 2 more cracks at the 49ers, and I think really this Seattle team is going to challenge with Russell Wilson. They're going to challenge for the NFC West title. So the fact that you're giving Russell Wilson and his team a touchdown to start the game, for me, I love. Hey, I called LSU plus the points earlier in the week against Bama.
You were right.
I'm calling Seattle plus the points against the unbeaten Niners here.
He had to throw that in there, of course. Ed, what do you think?
Love the humble brag, Rogo, and I love the pick as well. I'm taking the Seahawks to cover here. I trust Russell Wilson. How about that? I think he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo in all the key areas. Fewer turnover-worthy throws, higher completion percentage over expected, more aggressive on third down. Even if you don't believe that a quarterback can beat another team where they have all the weapons and all the superior skill players and lines, definitely Russell Wilson can handle a 6.5 point spread.
John, do bettors out there at the sportsbook think that the 49ers can cover this?
Absolutely, Danny. 3-to-1 ratio on the spread for the Seahawks at 6.5. Looks like if that keeps going, that line's actually going to come down. Absolutely love the 49ers in this spot. I think Russell Wilson's done an incredible job to get that team to 7-2. Yes, he's got support from Carson, but that's about it. I mean, I love the 49ers in this spot. I think they win easy. I love the over as well, 47.5. I only see that ticking up before Monday night, Danny.
Oh, I cannot wait for that game. That game's going to be a whole lot of fun. We'll take all the information that you just got from our experts, place your money, download that FanDuel Sportsbook app. We've got even more coming for you in the second hour, including Pat McAfee. Second hour, More Ways to Win, starts right now. two more ways to win. I'm your host, Danny Kleppinger. You're waving. Mark Rogandino, our betting expert, here with me in the studios in LA. This is the place where we give you all the information so that you can make the big bucks, right? And we've got so much to cover. Patrick Mahomes, the reigning MVP, he's back under center for the Chiefs. Can they cover the 5.5 points that they're giving against the Titans in Tennessee? We'll talk about that. And then two of the hottest teams in football right now. We keep saying it. Los Angeles Rams, Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are actually 3.5-point home dogs in this one. So we'll see where the sharp money is going in that one. And then the Colts are once again without their starting quarterback.
Reoccurring theme, it seems
It does seem to do that, but they are double-digit home favorites against Miami. We'll go into that and see what our experts say about that as well. Like I told you, we got Mark Rogandino, but we also have FanDuel contributor and former Colts punter Pat McAfee with us as well. What's up, Pat?
Thank you for having me. Excited to get over the hump, the schneid that was last week where FanDuel took all of my money. Excited to get it back and hopefully bankrupt FanDuel Sportsbook this weekend.
Which is what we love to see out of you. So let's start. Let's just jump right into this thing with the Kansas City game at Tennessee. Patrick Mahomes is back in this one. 5.5 points on the road. They are favored. What do you think, Pat?
I like Pat Mahomes. The fact that he's all the way back is good news. You saw him in the celebration after last week's big-time game winner from Butker. He is going to be on top of his game. Antsy to get back in there. A lot more weapons are wet. Let's go ahead and hammer the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes back at the helm.
Well, Pat, you talk about Patrick Mahomes and his ability to be back for this Kansas City offense, and that takes us to some prop bets in this one. I'm talking about over 302 passing yards, over, under. They're both at -112. Which way are you going this Sunday?
That is so many yards. So many. I mean, 302 yards is a lot of yards. Tennessee Titans team, you don't really know what you're ever going to get from them, both on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball. Patrick Mahomes, MVP-like guy. Whenever he shows up, people know about it. Let's assume he hammers the over and goes for like 500 yards today, just to tell everybody that although my patella bounced out of my knee and came right back, I am still the guy, still the MVP. I'm going to go with the over here just because there's so many weapons. Andy Reid's going to be so excited to have him back, and the team's morale is going to be massive. Let's assume that a lot of wide receivers are going to make plays for him out of the backfield as well. Patrick Mahomes is going to go over 302.5 yards.
And Danny, he talks about going over the 302.5 yard total and talks about wide receivers getting going, which takes us to the other prop bet in this game, and that would be Tyreek Hill. Do you think he goes over 81.5 receiving yards, over -102, the under -124, and a little extra juice there?
No, I'll go over. I think you saw him last week make the diving catch. He's all the way back as well. Vrabel is a very smart coach. I assume they're going to have something, but there's just too many weapons to defend. Tyreek Hill and Andy Reid's big brain will find a way to get him open. Pat Mahomes is going to make some ridiculous play to Tyreek Hill. He'll probably pick up 60 of those 81.5 in one play. Let's go over for the Cheetah, 81.5 receiving yards. I'm expecting a monster day from that Chiefs offense.
Let's talk now. The Ravens are headed to Cincinnati. Ryan Finley is going to be making his first start at quarterback for the winless Cincinnati Bengals. This line, Pat, is 10.5. What do you think about this one? Can they cover?
Yeah, the Bengals stink. I mean,
newsflash.
The fact that they
way to state the obvious.
The fact that they benched Andy Dalton on his birthday 2 hours before trade deadline ended just needs to say everything you need to say about the Bengals organization. I have no idea who Ryan Finley is. Maybe he'll be good. I doubt it. But I like this Ravens team a lot. The Ravens offensive line is not getting a lot of credit because of how elusive and incredible Lamar Jackson is. They'll be able to control this game. The defense also very, very talented. Everybody gets lost in the Lamar Jackson hype because it's real. He's doing things that haven't been seen before on a football field. But the Ravens will cover this 10.5 spread, even if it's in Cincinnati. That's a familiar place for them. I like the Ravens a lot.
Well, Pat, if you like the Ravens and for them to cover that double-digit number in this one, like you said, you're looking for Lamar Jackson to have a pretty big game, both with his arm but also with his legs. So that takes us to his prop bet, 284.5 rushing plus passing yards. Can he get over that number in this one?
Yeah, he was sick earlier in this week, too. So look for him to focus in even more on football. It's like the Michael Jordan flu game. Anytime there's something happening outside of football or outside of your sport, normally you dial it in just a little bit more on game day. I think his run of success will continue here. I would hammer the over there. I like Lamar Jackson a lot. He's an MVP candidate in my eyes. I'm excited to see how they keep it going with Greg Roman's offense.
Pat, while it looks a little bit frigid behind you out there in the Indy area, Danny and I, of course, are here in the Southern California FanDuel studios. And, yeah, it was about 85 degrees here yesterday, not too far from Hollywood. So we got to go to some Marquise Hollywood Brown. Would you go longest reception, over or under 27.5 yards, over -134, the under plus number plus 104?
Yeah, I think you go with the over here, just strictly because the tight ends take a lion's share of the work, and then bang, Lamar gets the pop one deep to Hollywood. I like the over here for 27.5. I like what the Baltimore Ravens have done offensively. They tried to learn early in the season. Do we have them throw a lot? Do we not have them throw a lot? They found a nice mixture. I look for the over there for Hollywood Brown, and look for Hollywood to break a couple tackles to make that happen as well.
All right, awesome stuff. I want to talk now about these two teams that both call MetLife home, and the Giants against the Jets. This line actually was at 2.5. It's moved now. So now the Giants are favored by 3. It doesn't really matter, but they are considered, quote unquote, the home or the road team in this one. So I don't know if you take that for what you will. But what do you think when you take a look at this game, Giants and Jets?
Yeah, I think the Jets have just become such a laughing stock. I mean, as soon as you get Sam Darnold back, everybody thinks the team's going to be good because they hammer the Cowboys. And somehow he's regressed more than any other quarterback in the NFL since the start of this season. He's seeing ghosts. The NFL Network didn't help him out with that. I mean, NFL Films didn't help him out with that, letting that out. But it's kind of been the picture of their whole season. Just very tough to watch. I'm going with the Giants, not only because Danny Dimes and Saquon Barkley, but because Antoine Bethea, who I didn't know was on their defense until last week with his 2 quick turnovers, he is a leader. I think he's going to make sure they win the MetLife Bowl. I got the Giants -3. I like them at -2.5 when I bet on them, but -3 is okay with me.
Well, let's talk prop bets now, shall we? Let's do Saquon Barkley, 116.5 rushing plus receiving yards.
Yeah, let's go ahead and hammer the over. Jets aren't great against the run. Saquon Barkley is always going to be a weapon. If you're adding in receiving yards as well, I would go over there for Saquon Barkley. Look for him to have a big game.
Awesome stuff. All right, let's talk about Jets QB Sam Darnold, because you just kind of hit on him a little bit there, but the longest completion for him. So over under 38.5 yards.
I'd go under here.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have the game of his life today. He might become the Sam Darnold show. Everybody knows he has that ability deep down inside of him. We just haven't been able to find it. I think Sam Darnold goes under here for 38.5 yards as his longest completion. I think it's an ugly day for him, to be honest.
I like your picks today, Pat. I'm really on board. How do you think you did last week, though? I know you said at the beginning you feel a little bit broke.
Well, I did. I mean, I watched my money just run out of my bank account like Forrest Gump. I mean, it was a rough week last week with the FanDuel Sportsbook app that is in Indiana. Promo code McAfee, keep your things moving. But I just watched my account just dwindle last week.
No.
I had a little bit of a cold. I had a little bit of this. Maybe my brain wasn't operating at all levels. But they got me last week. This week, it's my job to take it all back.
Am I hearing excuses already?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, just for our viewers and yourself, if you want a little review package, we put one together for you. So let's take a look at how you did.
Perfect. I think the Eagles cover here, even though 5.5 seems rather large. I would lean under here. Look for Aaron Rodgers to throw for maybe 700 yards today. Aaron Jones might run for 1,000 today. This is a Packers mollywop. I like Phillip Rivers a lot, but 24.5 completion seems like a lot. I wouldn't bet on this myself, but I would go with the under if I was to put money on that. This is a layup. Hey. The Colts are definitely going to win this game, and the fact that they're getting points is almost like FanDuel is giving away money. I like the Vikings -4.5, -3.5, whatever you want to call it. I like them a lot, even though it's tough to win in Arrowhead. Probably going to be 3 field goals in that game. Let's go ahead and hammer the over, -116 then. I don't think he's going to have a big-time run game. I think you're going to look for him if he's going to get anywhere near that 260.5. It's going to be with his arm. So I would go with the under here. I would go under 238.5 for Carson Wentz, but I think they're going to win handily. I like the Cowboys minus 6.5. I don't love it, but I like the Cowboys minus 6.5.
So bad, Pat, right?
I'm not crying. You're crying.
It was all my big bets, though. You know how you stack things like that. Colts. I called that guy Ed, who's soft over there in Dallas. I said, he went to his Twitter and started crying about what I said to him. That guy's one of the softest guys I've ever met in my entire life. I even said he was he was a big-time brain. I need to listen to him more, this Ed guy. I learned a lot. I lost some money because my layups were wrong. Put your sunglasses on, cool guy. I'm a big
We
fan.
are definitely going to have more on this Twitter beef that they're talking about right now because it was great stuff.
It's not a beef.
But I will say,
no, it's not a beef.
McAfee.
No, you're soft, Ed. You're soft.
You're softer, Pat.
Came
You're
out.
softer.
Soft.
No. You know that black cat from the Meadowlands? I named it Cat McAfee because you just run away from problems. That's how it is.
Man. We are going to, I'm going to intervene. I'm going to intervene because we're going to talk more about
Thank goodness somebody
I got to
is.
intervene between the two of you right now because we'll do more on in case people are confused or lost in about 20 minutes. Pat, appreciate it. We're going to get your Colts pick coming up too. Stick with us. We'll come back to this. We'll get the guy with the glasses back on here in a second, all right? If you want to get in on these bets, make sure you download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Use the promo code MOREWAYS25. Get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit, plus a free $25 bet. Just use the promo code MOREWAYS25. All right, you saw him on that screen there. That Edward Egros is joining us as well from Dallas. We also have John Sheeran on this show as well, the FanDuel Sportsbook. Hey, John. Hey, Ed. Ed, you took off your sunglasses for us. Maybe he doesn't think all that highly of this next game. I don't know. Let's talk about it. Falcons at the Saints. This one, as it sits right now, 13.5-point favorites there for the Saints. Mark, let's start with you. This is the biggest spread of the week. What are your thoughts?
Well, first, let me say, Danny, kudos to you, because if there's ever a tease in the television business for what's coming up between Ed Egros and Pat McAfee, that was it right there. You look at the number. As I digress for a moment, we get back to the game here. I like the Falcons to cover that number. It is just so big, and I know they've been dreadful this season. 1-7, I think, is their record so far this year. But they don't seem like a 1-7 team. They get Matt Ryan back. He's a top 5 quarterback when it comes to passing yards, and it is a division matchup between these two teams. When does pride come into play for these Atlanta Falcons? 13.5 is a huge number. I'll take the plus number.
They have lost 6 straight. They've only lost 7 straight back in 2003. It's been a while. Ed, what do you think?
Pride is one thing, ability is another.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan has thrown a good bit of turnover-worthy throws to the point where I expect the Saints defense perhaps to have a couple of takeaways, which means Drew Brees will have some short fields, and you know what happens there. It's either Michael Thomas or Alvin Kamara going off, and I think the Saints are in for a fantastic offensive day, in large part because, Drew Brees, he's hot, no doubt about it. But I think Michael Thomas is going to be the guy. He's my number 1 receiver for the weekend. I think he's going to be the guy to have a massive performance, maybe get to the end zone a couple of times. I think the Saints can cover this massive spread.
John, what are bettors doing over there at the FanDuel Sportsbook? This is a big spread.
Yeah, it's a huge spread, Danny. 13.5. I think we opened it there. It went down. Sorry, we opened at 12.5. Went down to 11.5. But a strong move since then, up to 13.5. I expected this to be completely lopsided. All Saints money. An hour ago it was 55%. It has crept up to over 60% now. Nearly 65% of the spread money is for the Saints. Nobody's willing to take Atlanta on the money line. The other key there is over 51.5. Good solid interest in the over there. About 75% of the money for the over there as well at 51.5.
Let's talk prop bets for this game, shall we? We talked about how Matt Ryan's coming back. 1.5 passing touchdowns for him. Let's get our experts' take here. Ed, I'll start with you. Over or under 1.5 for the guy returning?
I think he'll get over. I think he'll get to 2. Julio Jones could get both of those receiving touchdowns, but I don't think it's going to be too much more than that, and I think the Saints are going to have an even better performance. Falcons may only get 14, 2 passing touchdowns, so you get the over.
All right, Mark?
Yes, I would agree with you, Ed, here. I would expect normally in a normal Falcons season, you would expect this to be more like over under 2.5. So the fact that it's at 1.5, I'll take it going over for sure. Matt Ryan is top 5 in the league in passing touchdowns, and yes, he's top 5 in interceptions as well. But I think he can definitely throw 2 touchdown passes in this game.
All right, Mark, I'm going to come right back to you for this next one with Mike Thomas. Over under 8.5 receptions for him.
Ooh, that is a tough one because I know Drew Brees likes to spread the ball around. He's got a lot of different targets to go to, especially with Kamara coming back and the way that they use that bubble screen out on the perimeter. So I'm actually going to go under. I expect Thomas to see about 8 to 9 targets in this game, but I think he's going to go under in terms of the receptions.
Ed, I know you said in our first hour show that you think Mike Thomas is going to have a good game. What do you think here? How many receptions will he have?
I'm expecting 9 to 10, maybe even 11. Short passes, that's the key here. Drew Brees is not going to do anything too risky. He may throw 1 or 2 deep balls, but it's going to be the shorter passes to Michael Thomas. I think that will get the Saints moving in the right direction, scoring a lot of points against this rather weak Falcons defense. So I'm going to go with the over.
All right, good stuff there. All right, I'm going to move on now because the Bills and the Bills Mafia are taking over Cleveland. I don't know if you guys have seen that all over Twitter. They are just taking over city to city, which is very fun to watch. But they are not favored in this game and actually moved. It was at 2.5. The Browns are favored by 3 now. Actually, John, I want to go out to you first because there has been a change here. Talk to me about what's going on. What are you seeing at the FanDuel Sportsbook? It's changed.
Yeah, it was 2.5 all morning, Danny. We said it earlier, though, 75% of the money for Cleveland. I did kind of give you some insight into the fact that we did probably favour the Cleveland side of it. I just think that they're structurally just a better side. I think strength of schedule has massively impacted the relevant records that they have at 6-2 for Buffalo and 2-6 for Cleveland. So the minute we saw kind of any kind of sharp money at all for Cleveland, we were happy to move that to 3. So that's what we've done. Like I said, still 75% of the money for Cleveland. Just wanted to get it up to a push at a field goal is the reason why we've moved it.
All right, good stuff. Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield showdown. I like it. Ed, I'm going to come out to you in Dallas. What do you think about this line? Do you think that the Browns can cover this at home?
You like that showdown between Allen and Mayfield.
I mean, they're both okay. 2018 draft class. That's what I'm saying. They at least know each other.
Nothing wrong with
They went through that process. I understand they're facing each other's defenses, so it technically doesn't matter. But, hey, they're leading their team offensively, and they score points, which has to do with that.
No, they don't score points. That's the point, is that they're not scoring at all, either of them. Josh Allen ranks 8th from the bottom in depth-adjusted accuracy percentage. Baker Mayfield, 4th from the bottom in completion percentage over expected. Both will struggle to score here. My play is the under because I don't think either offense is going to be scoring very much, and I trust defenses more, which is a lot for me to say because defenses are volatile from week to week. Offensive line for Baker Mayfield has also been hurting him a good bit. A lot of penalties. Pass block win rate has not been very good, so he's been feeling more pressure than perhaps he should. I think Buffalo can win this game outright.
If I'm reading between the lines here, Danny and Ed, I think Ed is talking about the lesser of 2 evils when we're talking about these 2 quarterbacks. And certainly if you're going to go to one quarterback in this situation between the 2, you have to go to Baker Mayfield. I feel like he's the more talented guy and has more weapons around him. He's got Landry and Beckham on the outside. Then he's got Nick Chubb to turn and hand the ball to. And then he also has Kareem Hunt coming back into the fold for his first game in a Cleveland Browns uniform after the lengthy suspension. So the fact that it ticked up to 3, I still like the Browns in this situation. They're going to be at home. Let's not forget about the original dog pound.
Wow, I love that. Look at him. He's just barking and everything. This has been a great show so far. I mean, we've got Twitter fights, we've got barking dogs, and we've got a stash on the barking dogs. So, I mean, we're doing everything here. I want to move on now to a game that also had a line change, and that happened this morning as well. So, John, I am going to go out to you on this one. Detroit at Chicago. Both teams are struggling, but Matthew Stafford was ruled out of this game this morning. So talk to me a little bit about how this line has moved.
Yeah, Danny, we have a bit of a miss here. We had this line at 2.5. I think as far as last night, it went to 3.5 or 3 early in the early hours of this morning. So anybody who's had a bet on the Bears on the spread or on the total, indeed, at 41.5 are in really good positions. I expected them to play. I didn't think that it was as serious as it is. but they've gone to Jeff Driscoll, and I think our concerns here are around Jeff Driscoll. We moved the line to 7. It's ticked back to 6.5 off the back of some sharp play at a touchdown. But Jeff Driscoll's completion percentage is 60%. I think a 6-2 touchdown to interception ratio, it kind of doesn't really mean a lot for me. It was all in garbage time where he managed to pick up those touchdowns and completions. So I'm really concerned here about what can happen. It's a question of whether or not Mitch Trubisky and the Chicago Bears can take advantage. Like we said earlier, these are 17 and 18 in the league when it comes to red zone efficiency. So big concerns about how much offense can be turned into points on the board here. But like I said, a big move, 4 points roughly for the loss of Stafford for Detroit.
Well, Mitchell Trubisky is struggling. I will say they bumped one of my guys, one of my Oregon State Beavers, and a true friend of mine, Ryan Nall from practice squad, up for running back. So maybe they'll throw him in there, and maybe we'll just see a star in the making. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. But that Bears defense, they have lost 4 games in a row, but in those 4 games, surprisingly, the defense has given up nearly 25 points in those games. So, Mark, when you take a look at the total here, do you go over or under?
I think you have to stay under here. I cannot see the Lions scoring much at all in this game. I mean, this game has like 13-10, 13-7 written all over it. You mentioned the fact about the Bears defense hasn't been as good over their recent 4-game losing streak, but let's not forget, Khalil Mack is the guy that is back there, and he will hound Jeff Driscoll in this one. It's going to be really tough for a quarterback to step in all of a sudden. It is short notice. I'm sure the Lions were preparing for it, but you got to go under in this game. And again, I also think, though, that this will be tighter than most think because both of these offenses, Danny, have been dreadful.
Dreadful. Ed, what do you think when you take a look at this line? I know that you were nodding your head. I could see that when he said go under this total. You're totally agreeing with him on the total. You see what I did there?
Absolutely, you go under here in part because Mitch Trubisky has struggled. He's been atrocious. All of those bad words. You're turning TVs off at Hallis Hall. Then I think there's something a little bit deeper going on there in Chicago than, say, just having a couple of bad games. But Jeff Driscoll coming in for Detroit, looking at his numbers, his completion percentage for his career is around 60 in garbage time. It really should be more like 70 or 80 if you're dealing in garbage time because you're doing a lot of short throws. I think Gardner Minshew, when he came on in the relief work for Nick Foles, that's really what your numbers should look like if you're a backup quarterback. Certainly for the Bears, David Montgomery has improved. They're relying on him a good bit more because they don't like Mitch Trubisky and his passing attack. But if Chicago's running the ball a lot and Detroit can't get much out of the quarterback position, A, you go under, but B, you take Detroit to cover that game because there's just not going to be too many points to where someone's going to win by a touchdown.
Awesome stuff. Let's talk now about the last early game on the slate here. Shall we? Arizona at Tampa Bay. The Bucs are favored by 5.5 in this one. David Johnson is returning to the Cardinals lineup. Can they rush against this very stout rushing defense that the Bucs have?
They can rush, but I think it's more going to be about what they do in the pass game.
Right,
by the way, Danny, talk about going from one extreme to the other. We're talking about the Bears and Lions, and now going to a game with the Cardinals and the Buccaneers that I expect to have offensive fireworks. I think Kyler Murray comes out in this game, and he keeps drives alive with his leg. He's got Christian Kirk. He's got Larry Fitzgerald to throw to over the top. And then with David Johnson coming back into the fold, that's a weapon that you can either hand the ball to or you can get him out in the screen game. And I think that this is a number the Cardinals can certainly cover at 5.5.
All right. Ed, what do you think? I know 51.5. That's a pretty high total.
It is a high total, but I'm going to go with the over here because Jameis Winston's certainly capable of scoring a lot of points. It's just, will he? He is a volatile guy, to say the least. As for Kyler Murray, he's only explosive when he goes off script. So I think he's more of a workman-like quarterback, but I trust him. He's a good bit more consistent. So I think Arizona can cover that.
John, I want to head out to you at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Where's the sharp money going in this game?
All across the top line on the screen, Danny. The Cardinals plus 5.5. 80% of the money on the money line at plus 205 for Arizona, and 80% of the money for over 51.5 in the total as well. So pretty simple with this one. Basically, if you're not betting Arizona, you're doing it all wrong.
Awesome stuff. All right, now it's time for you to get in on this action. All you got to do is download the free, did I mention free, FanDuel Sportsbook app. Yes, get it, make yourself some money. All you got to do is sign up Make an account. Use the promo code MOREWAYS25, and you'll get a risk-free bet up to $500 in-site credit, plus a free $25 bet. Just use that promo code MOREWAYS25 and make some money. And now our experts may not call this a Twitter beef necessarily going on between Pat McAfee.
A tiff.
A tiff. There's a tiff going on between these guys, and we've got more between them coming up. It's definitely something you don't want to miss. Stay with us.
They say less is more, but we believe more is more. That's why we built FanDuel Sportsbook with more ways to bet, more ways to fund your account, more ways to cash in, and more ways to cash out, with payouts delivered straight to your bank account in as little as 48 hours. You want more? You got it. Join today and get a risk-free bet worth up to $500. FanDuel Sportsbook. More ways to win.
Sometimes a trip to the casino is not in the cards.
You have gas, there's tolls, there's traffic, there's parking. And what is a resort fee? I think everybody wants to know what a resort fee is. I'd rather just stay and play at home.
With Betfair Casino, you can play anywhere in New Jersey. No long drives, no hassle.
You just can't beat the convenience.
I've downloaded the app. It's fun, it's quick. I can play anywhere in New Jersey.
Playing on Betfair Casino, I save on tolls, I save on time. It's great.
With over 400 casino games, you could be playing your favorite games in 3 simple steps. Step 1. Sign up at betfaircasino.com and get $10 free for joining. Step 2. Make your first deposit and we'll match it up to $2,500. Step 3. Join the thousands in New Jersey playing for real money online.
It doesn't matter, how much we're betting. It's just the excitement of it. The adrenaline starts to flow.
Join the fun today at betfaircasino.com. Try it free.
Do you want to bet the next race and don't have a TVG account? Get the TVG mobile app and sign up. It's fun, easy, and it's TVG. I'll show you how it works. When you bet the horse that wins, you win money too. With the TVG app, select your horse, bet type, and wager amount. Place your bet and watch the race live. Download the app and sign up now, or go to TVG.com.
Join now and get a risk-free bet up to $200. TVG, your best bet.
Welcome back to More Ways to Win. Danny Clevenger here with Mark Rogandino. We also have Edward Egros, John Sheeran, and Pat McAfee is joining us once again, FanDuel contributor and a former Indianapolis Colts punter. What's up, Pat? Before we get into all the Twitter beef that we teased before the break, we want to talk games first, so we'll leave that to happen in just a little bit. Let's get his picks.
Yeah, and obviously, Pat, I was on the same side as you last week with the Colts. I couldn't believe Vinatieri missed the field goal. I thought for sure we had that one wrapped up. You look at the matchup this week, and it looks very different when you're talking about going against the Miami Dolphins, who are coming off of their first win. So I got to get your pick here on this one. Big number, and of course, you don't have Jacoby Brissett under center. Which way are you going on this one?
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried here with Hoy Daddy. Now, granted, I have a lot of faith in Chris Ballard. I have a lot of faith in Frank Reich. So I'm assuming that old Hoyer is ready to go and he's up for the challenge. Losing Jacoby last week was very difficult for our bets, you and I. Yes, Vinatieri missed a field goal with laces at him in one of the hardest stadiums to play. So I can understand how you blame Vinatieri for that if you don't know much about football. But the fact that Jacoby got hurt was a much larger thing than I could imagine. He's been playing at an all-pro rate. So now without T.Y. Hilton, without Jacoby, I believe Paris Campbell's also out. This is going to be a tough one to put up points, but Dwight Freeney's going into the Ring of Honor. A bunch of us OGs are going to be at the stadium. Normally, whenever this type of event happens at a stadium, the team blows out the opponent. The Miami Dolphins and Ryan Fitzmagic have been putting together a lot of incredibly tense moments, especially if you're Miami Dolphins management and you're expecting to stink and get the #1 draft pick. 10.5 is a lot of points. Just like last week, I thought the Colts would be favored by a lot more. It feels as if Vegas knows something I don't. If it's near 11, I'm going to assume it's going to be near 17. Hammer the Colts until we learn otherwise. Hoyer the Destroyer, Hoy Daddy, and all the OGs in the building. This should be a good one for the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, then let's just stick with your guys then, Pat. How about that? Let's talk prop bets with some of your Colts players. Let's start with Marlon Mack, shall we? 82.5 rushing yards, over or under for him?
Over. Look for a lot of Marlon Mack. Look for a lot of Nyheim Hines. Look for a lot of Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle. Yes, they'll have to spread the field out a little bit with Pascal and Kane, but today is going to be a big-time running back and tight end game for Brian Hoyer, and I'm excited to see how they get in there. Now, granted, I am telling you all these things. I know nothing about Brian Hoyer, nothing at all. I'm just thinking after 3 touchdowns last week. He threw one very easy interception that ended up being a pick 6 for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Yeah. He was with Tom Brady, just like Jacoby was. I like Frank Reich. Let's assume there's a heavy dose of the running backs and tight ends, and I think they get the win.
Well, you talked about Pascal, so let's bring him up. Zach Pascal, his longest completion here, or longest reception, 21.5 yards.
Yeah, let's go over there. Just because he's going to be one of the biggest weapons. Look for them to get bored with the run, get bored with the tight end, little crossing routes, and then bang, pop one to Pascal, who's been incredibly impressive this season.
Good stuff.
It sounds like, Pat, basically if you tell him anything that is pro-Colts, it's pretty much going to be, yeah, go ahead, take that, book it, take it to the bank.
But that's how I am usually about these Rams.
So I'm going to switch gears here, Pat, and I'm going to go out to Heinz Field and talk about 2 of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. I'm talking about the Los Angeles Rams, who are 3.5-point favorites against the Pittsburgh Steelers. How do you see this one playing out? Which of these 2 hot teams suffers their first loss in quite some time?
That D-line for the Pittsburgh Steelers put on a show last week against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, granted, a lot of my bets for the Colts, if you've been watching through this year, have hit all the way up until last week. So, granted, I am definitely a homer. Mr. Irsay paid me millions of dollars to do something that you should not get paid millions of dollars to do. He also gave me his plane 2 weeks ago so I could go attend SmackDown on Fox and then College Game Day. So I am a Colts fan. But they've worked for a long time all the way up until last week. And the reason why they didn't win last week, aside from Jacoby getting hurt, but the reason why Jacoby got hurt is because Cam Hayward and that Steelers defensive line was unbelievable. Look for Goff to be very uncomfortable in this game. I like the Steelers plus 3.5. Their defense of the Rams has done a little bit better now that they brought in Jalen Ramsey. It's going to be tough to get points, but I like the Steelers plus 3.5 at home. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. And I think that D-line for the Steelers is going to be one that people are going to talk about a lot more. I didn't give it enough respect last week. That's on me. I apologize. But this week, I believe I'm not going to fall on them. I think they're going to be beating Goff today.
Well, one of Goff's most favorite targets is Cooper Kupp, and he was pretty outstanding in their last game in London. They had a bye, of course, now. But let's talk prop bets for this game, shall we? And I do want to start with Kupp. Over or under 22.5 yards as his longest reception for Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp is everything that you could imagine about being a deceptive athlete, right? He's a white guy, so he's first one in, last one out, coach's son, all this stuff. But he gets loose in the backfield now. Whenever people don't expect it, Cooper Kupp makes plays. He's been injured. When he's there and healthy, he's a game changer for the Rams. I'd assume he goes over 22.5 just because that's what Cooper Kupp does. I still like the Steelers 3.5.
And he's really great with his yards after the catch as well, so I understand that one for sure. Okay, I want to talk about Steelers quarterback now, Mason Rudolph. Over under 20.5 completions for him.
That seems like a lot, right? Especially with that defense that seems to be re-energized now that they got Jalen Ramsey over there. Ducky Hodges is in that quarterback room with Mason Rudolph. That probably motivates him, knowing that there's a world champion duck caller sitting right behind him. For me, let's go under 20.5 for that minus 102. Still like them, but I think it's under 20.5 completions for Mason Rudolph.
Pat, let's go from some of the Sunday games to Monday Night Football, and a huge one as far as NFC West standings and competition. I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks coming to Northern California, Levi Stadium, against the 49ers. Now, the number is 6.5. Do you think Seattle covers that number and even possibly delivers the first loss for the Niners on the year?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because the question for the 49ers has always been, they haven't played anybody. How will they match up against real competition? Now, George Kittle, I guess, is going to be out, which is one of their biggest weapons, one of the biggest weapons in the entire NFL. But that Niners defense eats. I mean, they are dominant, suffocating, all those things. But Russell Wilson with a ball in his hand is a magician. You add Josh Gordon in there, I would assume they've given him 4 or 5 plays that he'll be able to get loose in. The Seattle Seahawks defense, not great. I like the Seahawks plus 6.5, but I think this is going to be a nail-biter. I think this is going to be one that's going to scare the hell out of everybody that bets this. And I like the Seahawks getting the win here against the 49ers strictly because George Kittle, who is a game breaker, game wrecker, game changer, will not be playing. I think that hurts them more than people can imagine. And although I like the Niners a lot going forward, I think this is going to be a hell of a game where we're going to learn a lot about both teams.
Yeah, it sounds like you got some faith in Russell Wilson, which is actually the first prop bet that I have for you on this game is a Russell Wilson prop, and it's 256.5 passing yards, over or under for him.
Yeah, I would go over here, and he's going to have to, by the way. Yeah, Seahawks defense, even without Kittle, I don't think they'll be able to stop him very much. I think he'll go over. This is the same guy who every time he gets on a microphone says all the right things. This is the same guy that got paid $140 million while laying in bed with Sierra. This is the same guy that can drop a ball into a bucket. I'm going to go over and ride with Russell Wilson until I can't no mo. Over 256.5 for Russell Wilson. Go Hawks.
Well, let's talk the other quarterback then, shall we? And Jimmy G, over under 252.5 passing yards for him.
I think you go under here, and I think Kyle Shanahan is going to utilize his running game. He has the ability to draw up creative plays in the rush game. A lot of people know the air raid offense and all these creative plays to get wide receivers, tight ends, and everybody open. But Kyle Shanahan has the ability to make runs happen like that. Without George Kittle, let's go ahead and hammer the under here, but understand that their offense is still going to be efficient.
For sure. Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I look at this game, and it is going to be incredible between these two teams. And I know, Pat, you've made some great predictions for us here today, but obviously before we let you go, we teased a little something earlier, Danny.
I mean, we got to get to it, right?
And to be clear, Pat, we did say between you and Ed, you're right. It's not a Twitter beef. It's just a Twitter tiff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So all that happened, let me paint the picture for everybody before we get right into this, right? So Ed, you kind of came at Ed on the show. Ed retweeted a clip of that, said something along the lines of nothing like a guy wearing a sleeveless shirt telling me what I should do on television.
Correct.
Yeah, we got.
Hold on, no.
Wait. But Pat, you got to put it on hold for a second. We got to fill the people in that are watching.
Hey, I don't know your name. Let me explain it. So last week, Ed said something against the Colts, right? And for me, I'd been hitting a heater on the Colts. He talked about how the Steelers are going to win. I thought it was completely asinine. I said this guy shouldn't be allowed to talk about football. Very rude of me. Disrespected Ed. So then whenever it happens, I apologized to Ed. I said, Ed's 100% right. Then Ed went so far playing victim on Twitter. It's like, Ed, come on. You made a lot more money this weekend than I did. I watched my bank account empty because of your prediction of the Steelers beating the Colts. And he just kept going and going and going. And I can't take it.
Hey, Pat,
I can't take it anymore.
It's one thing for us to hear you rehash the whole story, but how about we get the actual tape?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hear what happened.
Enough, Ed.
Cut to it.
And I don't know who that guy was that was just talking, but he said that the Colts are worse than they've looked and the Steelers are better than they've looked. That guy should not be paid to talk about football. Wrong. I was wrong.
Here's how Ed responded here, right, Mark? You see that?
Yeah, you look at how he responded. Nothing like a guy wearing a sleeveless shirt telling me what to talk about on TV or what I should do on TV. But you got backers, Pat McAfee.
Yeah, it's really cool. You have McAfee Mafia. They obviously came at Edward Egros, obviously, basically saying, like, you know, who are you? Never talk about another man's sleeves, bro, right?
Thank you.
I mean, absolutely. So... Oh, Ed, I know you're putting on those sunglasses.
What about this
I've
one,
also
Danny?
seen another one. Yeah, go ahead.
Looking like a kicker who keeps on a practice squad but never makes the 53-man roster. And as Pat told us earlier, laces out, bruh.
Laces out, bruh. So, Ed, why haven't you made a 53-man roster?
Why haven't I?
Yeah.
Probably athleticism, I think, more than anything else. But when it comes to the smarts, though, when it comes to the analytics, that's a different story, but unfortunately, you know, maybe the athleticism isn't quite there. But you know, you got to have somebody like this on your football team. That's the deal.
All right, Ed, let me say this. I apologize for my followers being rude to you. I apologize for my statement while being sleeveless. And I hope we can move forward and you and I take every dollar that FanDuel has so that next year, look, there it is. Edward was 100%, 1,000% correct. I am 100% okay admitting when I'm wrong. And Edward, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all of your picks today. I'm going to go to the FanDuel Sportsbook app, and I am going to take my mortgage and put it on there because I learned last week that the man in the sport coat that got hammered by my followers has a massive brain in the analytics gambling world.
Oh, I love it. Now we're singing some Kumbaya.
It's all FanDuel family. It's FanDuel family. I love it.
Yes, sportsbook.fanduel.com brings people together if we've learned nothing else. Here's all I ask, Pat. Next time in Indianapolis, you take me out to Elmo's. That's all I ask.
Get the shrimp cocktail.
Shrimp cocktail's where it's at. Everybody, go download this FanDuel Sportsbook app. You got to get in on this action that they're talking about. You heard our experts all show long give you all the best information that you could possibly have to place your bets and win some money. Just download that app, sign up for an account with the promo code MOREWAYS25. You'll get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit plus a free $25 bet. Just use the promo code MOREWAYS25. I'm glad we got through that there, Mark. I'm sweating a little bit. That was great stuff. I'm glad to know that everybody's all on the same page. It's got the right numbers, obviously, to back up what he's talking about.
He'll learn my name in the coming weeks. I'm not worried about it.
And Pat's got that energy. I love it. We've also got stuff coming up from Dr. Chow talking about injuries and how that affects your bets as well. So that's something you definitely want to stick around for. We'll be back in just a minute.
Do you want to bet the next race and don't have a TVG account? Get the TVG mobile app and sign up. It's fun, easy, and it's TVG. I'll show you how it works. When you bet the horse that wins, you win money too. With the TVG app, select your horse, bet type, and wager amount. Place your bet and watch the race live. Download the app and sign up now, or go to TVG.com.
Join now and get a risk-free bet up to $200. TVG, your best bet.
Sometimes a trip to the casino is not in the cards.
You have gas, there's tolls, there's traffic, there's parking. And what is a resort fee? I think everybody wants to know what a resort fee is. I'd rather just stay and play at home.
With Betfair Casino, you can play anywhere in New Jersey. No long drives, no hassle.
You just can't beat the convenience.
I've downloaded the app. It's fun, it's quick, I can play anywhere in New Jersey.
Playing on Betfair Casino, I save on tolls, I save on time. It's great.
With over 400 casino games, you could be playing your favorite games in 3 simple steps. Step 1. Sign up at betfaircasino.com and get $10 free for joining. Step 2. Make your first deposit and we'll match it up to $2,500. Step 3. Join the thousands in New Jersey playing for real money online.
It doesn't matter, how much we're betting. It's just the excitement of it. The adrenaline starts to flow.
Join the fun today at betfaircasino.com. Try it free.
They say less is more, but we believe more is more. That's why we built FanDuel Sportsbook with more ways to bet, more ways to fund your account, more ways to cash in, and more ways to cash out, with payouts delivered straight to your bank account in as little as 48 hours. You want more? You got it. Join today and get a risk-free bet worth up to $500. FanDuel Sportsbook. More ways to win.
Welcome back to More Ways to Win. We have been hearing from our betting experts. We've been hearing from John Sheeran at the FanDuel Sportsbook, who sets the lines. But now I want to bring in former team doctor for the Chargers and Pro Football Doctor. So you can follow him on Twitter at Pro Football Doc. It's Dr. Chow, and we love when he comes to give us his insight. And a lot of injuries are guys coming back from injuries that I want to talk about specifically with you right now. Starting with Patrick Mahomes, he's back. The reigning MVP is back under center for the Chiefs after that dislocated knee. What can we expect to see out of him? Can we see the Patrick Mahomes that we're all used to seeing?
I love the questions when it comes to good news here. And yes, Patrick Mahomes will be back. This is 3.5 weeks from his Thursday night kneecap dislocation. And believe it or not, I expect him to look very good and very dynamic for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is the right window for him to come back in, and he is an incredible athlete. And I don't think you're going to notice very much drop off from him at all in terms of what he can do. And remember, his ankle, the left high ankle sprain, will have gotten healthier in this time period as well. The risk is redislocation. Although the risk is now reduced at 3.5 weeks, it's not zero. His performance will be good. The risk is still there, although getting smaller.
Let's talk now about Matt Ryan, who's coming back. They are coming off of a bye, so he had an extra week to rest, but he wasn't in that game prior to the bye. He had an ankle injury. Do you expect to see him at full 100% after that?
I do. Obviously, Matt Ryan is not as mobile as Patrick Mahomes, and so the high ankle should affect him less. It is his back right push-off leg from the right high ankle. The bye week will have helped him. It's now 3 weeks from the injury. There was some word that he might have been able to go even 1 week after the injury. I think Matt Ryan should be healthy and good to go today without any residual.
I'm glad we're talking about guys that are good to go and good news here, but Amari Cooper is expected to play, but he does have a bruised knee. Do you think that will hinder him at all?
I don't think much. I think the MRI didn't show much. And remember, it's a knee, but also by video when he got hurt on that game, there was a little bit of an ankle sprain too, but that was an inversion mild ankle sprain. So I expect Amari Cooper to be fine for the evening game.
Doc, it's great getting your insight. I love all the information that you have, and you have so much more that I can't even get to on this show. Make sure you all go check out his website, profootballdoc.com. You can follow him on Twitter. Great insight there at profootballdoc. Dr. Chow, appreciate you coming on here and sharing your insights. Thanks so much. Hey, I want to get Mark and Ed back in here because I do want to see if you have any reactions to what he said. Does anything that have to do with those injuries impact any of the bets that went through your mind?
You know, I'll start with the Patrick Mahomes injury, and I thought it was great how the doc pointed out that, yes, he's missed 2 games officially, but the fact is it's been 3.5 weeks, and you forget about the ankle injury when news comes about the dislocated kneecap. So for me, I think it's great to hear that, yes, Patrick Mahomes will immediately be back up to speed. You guys always hear when they talk about you can't ever simulate game speed, so I still do think in the first quarter it might be a little bit of a slow start, but as he says, Dr. Chow said, this guy's an elite athlete, Ed. He's going to find a way to get right back to himself and should look, say, 98, 99% of what we're used to seeing.
Ed, did you take anything away from what Dr. Chow had to say about injuries?
No, exactly. When it comes to Pat Mahomes, that was the biggest thing that I was concerned about because I think this is a guy who could hang 40 points today. Yes, the number of injuries should be a big concern for Mahomes. And also, too, I think when you have a longer break, and maybe the doctor disagrees with me here, but I'm concerned more about rust than rest in a situation like this. So, yeah, Rogo, I think you're right on. I think it may be a slightly slow start for him, but then it's going to pick back up because he is Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes could be the greatest quarterback in football going right now. So I think things will be all right for him.
Ed, thanks for knowing my name.
It's okay.
Hey,
it took Pat a little bit to get to know Ed's name as well, so it's okay. Guys, our last game preview I'm going to run through here is our Sunday night football game. Vikings at Dallas. The Cowboys here are favored at home by 3.5. Mark, talk to me.
Well, Dr. Chow just talked about the injury there and the fact that you are going to have Amari Cooper pretty close to 100% and coming. He doesn't think that it's going to affect him as far as coming back. And we know the combination between Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper. We saw it limited after the trade last year when Cooper came over from the Raiders. I expect the fact that, yes, this is going to be a great opportunity for Dallas to cover this number. Zeke will go crazy in this one. And as I alluded to earlier in the show, it's going to be tough for Kirk Cousins on the road against a pretty good Dallas defense.
Yeah, the Vikings and Cowboys actually feature the 3rd and 4th ranked rushing offenses in the league, so that'll be fun to watch for sure. Ed, do you think the Cowboys can cover this at home?
I absolutely do. I think it's going to be a close game, though. I think the Cowboys will probably win by 4 or 5, but I trust Dak Prescott in this situation to pass it to Amari Cooper. He's got a lot of other great weapons. Michael Gallup, we don't talk about him enough. Randall Cobb, we don't talk about him enough. Minnesota, I think, will keep up for the most part because of Dalvin Cook, because of that offensive line. But I think missing Adam Thielen is going to be the key here. Just one weapon short here for Minnesota means that Dallas covers the 3.5.
John, where's all the action going on over there at the FanDuel Sportsbook? What are bettors keying in on?
Yeah, the line's up from 2.5 to 3.5. 60% of the spread money is for the Cowboys, Danny. almost the exact opposite, 60-65% on the money line for the Vikings. Probably the most notable thing that I've seen in New Jersey is the total, 48.5, and nearly 75% of the money's for the over. So I would say that's probably the most insightful piece of money that we've seen here in New Jersey, although I do love the Vikings in this spot. I think 3.5 is very fair.
You know, Danny, one of the things I think you look at in this game, too, is Kirk Cousins and his primetime record. He's only covered twice in 9 primetime televised opportunities, and we've always talked about his struggles on the road. That makes life difficult for the Vikings on a night like this.
Absolutely. Good point there for sure. Make sure you download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is free. All you got to do is sign up using an account. Use that promo code MOREWAYS25. You get a risk-free bet up to $500 in-site credit plus a free $25 bet. Just use the promo code MOREWAYS25. You can watch More Ways to Win on Wednesday. Again, that's at 11 Eastern. We also have our football preview show that you definitely don't want to miss. That's on Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you don't miss it. And then us on Sundays, of course. We've got Ken Rudolph and squad coming up with this Aqueduct coverage. Stay with us right here on TVG.